Today we are traveling to Middle-earth, back to the epic, beautiful world of Lord of the Rings. This here is the Duel edition from Repost Production. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to play this game. I'm going to show you how to set it up and what you can do when you play this game. So let's just look at this pearl. We need to, at random, or simply agree on who will represent the Brotherhood and who will represent Sauron. And then take the towers and little meeples representing that faction. Then we need to put together this track, put out the map on the board, but also the alliance tokens above the map, draw 3 landmarks at random and place them face up, put out the 3 different card decks, and also the coins for all players to easy reach. This game is played out during 3 different chapters, and they are all built up in different ways. You can see which of these cards representing the different chapters by simply looking at the back. This one being chapter 1, this one being chapter 2, and lastly this one being chapter 3. Now, as I said, each chapter is built up in a different grid, but you can see this easily in the rulebook. When you have built up the grid, you will have 3 cards that you did not use. These 3 cards are put in the discard pile. As you can see, some of these cards are above the other cards, meaning that you can only take the cards that are actually not covered, and the ones that are covered you cannot take yet. The player representing the Fellowship of the Ring will receive 3 starting coins, while the player representing Sauron will get 2 starting coins. But whoever represents Sauron's will be the starting player. So now we're ready to start playing the game. But what's the game about? Well, it is simply about you trying to conquer Middle-earth, either as the Fellowship of the Ring or as Sauron. And you can win in 3 different ways, either by completing the Ring's mission, or take over Middle-earth, or gather alliances with 6 different alliances. If you manage to do either of these, well, you will win the game, and the game will end. During your turn, you can choose to do one thing. Either take one of the landmarks out on the board, if you can afford it, that is. I will show you more in a bit. Or you can take a card from the card grid and either play it in front of you or throw it to get money. And the game itself is, as I told you before, played out during 3 different chapters, using the different chapters decks. We start in chapter 1, which makes sense, and once we have emptied this grid, well, then we go on to chapter 2 and then eventually chapter 3. Let's take a look at how you take a card from the card grid first. To be able to take one of the cards out there, it needs to be not covered, meaning that any cards that are covered by another card cannot be chosen. But these ones here on the front are not covered by any cards, so here you could choose one to take. Once you have chosen which card you would like to have, well, you have 2 more choices. Either you can choose to, well, put this in the discard pile and throw it away to get some coins. If we are in chapter 1, you would get 1 coin for this card. If we're on chapter 2, you will get 2 coins for the card. And you guessed it, if we are in chapter number 3, well, you would get 3 coins for discarding this card. But if you don't want to discard it, you can actually play it in front of you, if you can pay the cost. So this here in front of you is your player area. This is where you will place out your cards, but also any landmarks that you might get in the future. For example, this card here. Now, this card will actually not cost you anything, because there is no cost on this card. But it does have an ability at the top. These abilities are used to unlock any other cards in the future that has this ability cost. This one here, for example, as you can see, this one has 3 cost, 2 strength and 1 courage, meaning that this player would need these 3 abilities in their player area to be able to play this card. And as you can see, this player only have 1 strength. So they can't play this card, right? Well, it's not exactly true, because you can actually pay 1 coin per ability that you are missing. Meaning that this player has 1 strength, and if they pay 2 coins, they will be able to play this card anyway. And some of the cards actually have linked abilities. For example, this card will cost you nothing to play when you play it, as it has no cost, right? And as you can see in the top right corner, it has this little flag symbol. This means that if you in a future turn will get this card here, you will actually be able to play it for free, even if it has a cost here, because this card has the same link symbol next to the cost as your previously card also have. Meaning that this card will actually unlock and open this card for you for free. So now you will be able to put this in your player area as well, and also use the abilities on that card. So now we know how we actually play cards and how we pay for the cards themselves. But let's also take a look at the different cards and what they actually do. So these abilities here are used to unlock new cards. This one here actually is used to move your characters out on the rings symbol. And you can move them 1 step per symbol. If your characters passes any bonuses out on this track, you will get that bonus right away. In this case, 1 coin. This one here means that you will get the amount of coins that is stated on the card. In this case here, 2 coins. The cards that has abilities that are divided by this line means that in your coming turns, you can choose one of these 3 abilities in the future. But you can't use all 3 of them at the same time. Besides those cards, we also have red and purple cards. As you can see, they still have costs, but on the top they have completely different symbols. And these symbols here won't let you unlock or play new cards in your area, but they will let you do other effects. Let's start by taking a look at the red cards. If we start by looking at the red card, we can see that we have 2 different color flags, but also a meeple in the center and a number. The flags represents the regions out on the board corresponding to the flags that is on the cards. The meeples, well, they mean your meeples that you have in front of you. And the number is the number of meeple that you can put out in this or in this region. So if you would like to put out 2 meeples in Rohan, for example, well, you can go ahead and do that. But every time you place out a meeple in an area where there is one of your enemies, they will actually take out one of your enemies right away. But you will also take out one of theirs as well. This means that if you, for example, put 2 meeples in Rohan and there is 1 enemy, well, they will need to remove their enemy, but you will need to remove one of yours as well. But at least you get to keep 1 there, right? Next, let's look at the movement cards. These cards will let you move the amount of steps as there are errors. So here you have 3 steps. And you can choose to move 1 of your meeple all 3 steps, or move 1 meeple 1 step, and then move 1 meeple the rest of the steps. Either way, it's up to you. So you could, for example, choose to take 1 of your meeples and move them 1 step over here. But this would mean that you take each other out, remember? If you enter an area and there's an enemy, well, they will take you out, but you will also take them out. And then you could choose to move 1 more meeple the last 2 steps, meaning that you could move to Rohan and then all the way down to Mordor. If there is a fortress on the area that you land, well, nothing will happen. Some of the purple cards will also force your opponent to lose their little meeples out on the map or lose coins, and let you move. So they are quite powerful, but they're also only available in Chapter 3. And lastly, we have the green cards. Now, when you manage to get 2 green cards with the same alliance symbol in the top, you get to take the top 2 tokens of that corresponding alliance with the same symbols, look at them, choose one to keep and take that bonus, and put the other one back again. And if you manage to get 3 different green cards with 3 different alliance symbols, you get to take the top token from each of those 3 alliances. Again, look at them, pick one, and put the rest back on top. But you can only do this once per game. So that's one of 2 things you can choose to do during your turn. Simply take one of the available cards, meaning the non-covered cards, and either throw it away to get coins or pay the cost, if there is any, and put it down in your player area to use those effects on the top of that card in future turns. But if you do not want to do that, well then you can take a landmark instead. But again, there is a cost to pay. So out on the board you have 3 faced up landmarks. Now, each of these will cost you money if you have any fortresses out on the map itself. Because you need to pay 1 coin per fortress that you have out on the map itself, plus the resources stated next to the coin. This means that if you have 4 fortresses out on the map, well, this one will cost you 4 coins. But it also means that they will cost you nothing at the start of the game. But you would still need to pay the resources stated next to the coin symbol, because you have not put out any fortresses yet. But if you choose to buy this one here, for example, you get to place this tile in your player area, but you also get to place out one of your little fortresses here on the same location out on the board itself. Now, if you have chosen to play a card, you need to flip up a new card to make one new card available for your opponent in the future or for yourself. But if you have played a tile during your turn, well, you do not do this. Then the turn simply goes over to the other player. When all of these cards out on the card grid is gone, this is when we start a new chapter and start to put out the new cards for chapter 2 or chapter 3 out on the board. And then we simply start all over in a new chapter, going back and forward. And this is the way the game goes on until one of the 3 different winning conditions is met. If Frodo and Sam manage to reach the volcano and throw down the ring, well then the Fellowship of the Ring will win the game. But if the Nazgûl manage to catch up to Frodo and Sam and catch them, well then Sauron has won the game. If you manage to form an alliance with 6 different alliances, well then you have won the game. If you have presence in 7 different regions out on the map, you also win the game. Either with your fortresses or your little warriors here. Because now you dominate Middle-earth. And that's how you play Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, which I think is just a great 2-player game. There are a lot of combinations you can do here with the different cards, the way you can chain them so you can pay for nothing just to get the effect, and there's a lot of different ways to win this game. I mean, you can go all in and try to catch Frodo and Sam, or go all in to get the ring in the volcano. You can go in for the battles out on the map itself, try to take over Middle-earth by simply violence and movement. Or you can try to form the alliances, which is not that easy, because you have a certain amount of time before that alliance is gone from the map grid, from the card grid, and your opponent will take the card instead of you. There are a lot of things for the players to do in this game, and I think that this is like the perfect 2-player game. That, my friend, was Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. If you like the original Duel, if you like Lord of the Rings, I think you're gonna love this, because I do. I think this is a perfect game. I mean, you have area control, you got the little card management here, you got the different alliances, and you got 3 different ways to win. I mean, you got the race between Sam and Frodo and the Nazgûl trying to reach Mordor and get the ring in. I think this is just a great 2-player game. If you want to know more, well, check out the links down in the description. If you like the video, comment, like it, subscribe to the channel, whatever you want to. But most importantly, my friend, please remember to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out, and thanks for watching.